Hey guys, today is November 19th, which is a very special day for me, and I would like to share a story with you about a beautiful little boy who changed my life forever and prepared me for this one. So to start off, I do have permission from the family to share his story, so no worries about that. Okay, this is hard. 4 years ago today, my entire world got flipped upside down. I'm a paramedic, and I was on my first shift back after having my very first miscarriage. It had been 10 days. And I finally got myself pulled back together, and I was ready to go. I was on the back half of a 48-hour shift when the tones dropped for a 10-day-old that was unresponsive. Y'all hear that? 10 days. He was born the same day that I had my miscarriage. It's Devine Intervention at its finest right here. I was on the back half of a 48-hour shift with a partner who I don't normally work with. We had just gotten back to the station from another call when the tones dropped. It said, "Medic 41, I need you en route to the high school for a 10-day-old that is unresponsive and not breathing." 10-day-old at the high school sounds kind of ridiculous, doesn't it? Well, this was their homecoming rally, and being a small town, everyone and their mother is there. Just what small towns do. But you hear that on the radio, doesn't matter who you are, you're gonna get sick to your stomach. Nobody wants to hear that a baby is unresponsive. We live and work in a rural county where sometimes our response times can be 30 minutes just because of the distance it's going to take for us to get to them. And 10 minutes is a long time without oxygen. 5 minutes, can you imagine 20? We had over 20 miles to go before we got there, got on scene. But luckily, my supervisor was actually already en route to our station with a new hire. So he heard the call came out and went on the radio and said he was responding from county line, which was much, much closer than we were. So he was actually able to make a scene before we did and relay some information to us. That gave me a little bit of relief. I was able to breathe and kind of collect myself and prepare for what we were about to get into. A huge part of my relief is the fact that I now know I'm going to have more hands, because we're still out in the middle of nowhere and it's me and my partner. Somebody has to drive. So it's me by myself with a baby driving another about 30 miles to the closest hospital. That's terrifying. And I called for a helicopter because I knew that kid was going to need to get to a higher level of care, a pediatric center that we do not have where we are at. But for whatever reason, I cannot remember if it was weather or they were already on another call, but they were going to take way too long to get to us, and we could have already driven them to the hospital by then. So I said, don't worry about it. I mean, we'll just drive. So I am preparing myself for what I'm about to see. I get on scene and I can see the first responders, who some of them actually work for us. I see my supervisor holding a limp child in his arms. I see a mom who is in complete shock, doesn't know what's going on. And hey, I know you. There are nurses from our ER that were there for their kids. and they saw what was going on. They stopped and ran over and started helping, which was just amazing. So I knew I had plenty of hands. We just needed to get going. We pull up right next to my supervisor, and they open the back doors and start loading him in. I open my door, and I'm standing at the side door of the ambulance where I can see everything that's going on. And by this time, Mama's standing right next to me. I know I really wasn't a mom yet at this point, but the stress, the hurt, the confusion that she must have been going through, it broke my heart, and I wanted to give her a little bit of comfort. So I said, "Hey Mama, what's his name?" And she said, "James." I said, "Okay, well, James is in great hands, okay? This is the best team that he could possibly have right now, and we're gonna take good care of him. Why don't you tell me what happened?" So she proceeds to tell me that she was breastfeeding when she looked down and noticed that he was kind of a blue-gray color and not really breathing. I said, "All right, any other issues with pregnancy? Was he preterm?" She said, "No, everything was good." "All right, fantastic. We're gonna go to the hospital. I'm gonna have you right in the front because there's not gonna be a lot of room back here." She says, "Okay." And in the front she goes. Our first responder that works for us actually wound up driving so that my partner could be in the back giving us extra hands. My supervisor rode with us, the ER nurse rode with us, and the new hire. So we had plenty of hands back there. Everyone was able to do one job, which normally never happens. Normally it's one person doing everybody's job. So it was divine intervention. I could spend 2 hours going into detail about everything that happened back there, but it really doesn't matter. I'll just give you the main highlights. We were preparing to intubate when his heart rate started tanking, and kids are not like adults. Adults have gradual declines most of the time. Kids do not. It's like that first drop on a roller coaster. You're teetering and then you just plummet. And we were right there. He was teetering on the top, and to prevent him from crashing and his heart from actually stopping, we began compressions and pulled over, and I RSI'd, or at this point, yeah, I RSI'd him, which I paralyzed him and put a tube down in his airway to breathe for him. Everything was good for a few minutes, and then blood started coming out of everywhere. His nose, his mouth, it was covering us. And I immediately thought I did it. I immediately thought that I caused massive trauma to this kid's airway, and I just killed him. I really did. It hurt so bad to see that. It was pretty shitty. It's crazy hectic back there. We're all doing our own job. We're working so hard, and I start watching the hope drain out of everybody's face. I mean, we're realists. We work in the medical field. We know the probability of someone coming back from this is not very big, especially when we don't even know the underlying cause. And if they do come back, they're probably gonna be brain dead. And I wasn't ready to give up. Even though I was so sure that I had already really hurt him and done some massive trauma to his airway, I couldn't give up. I wasn't ready. I was not going to lose another baby. I was not going to lose another baby. I just couldn't. I couldn't handle it. I emotionally could not handle it. So, you know, like, no guys, come on, ideas. We got to figure something out. Bounce something off of us. We're checking everything that we can think of, and still nothing. We don't know what caused it at all, but we are arriving at the hospital. We get to the hospital and everyone's waiting for us outside. The whole team, RT, everybody. We transfer him over out in the ER bay. We don't even make it inside before, you know, they're there, and I turn around and there's Mom staring at me as I'm covered in blood, as is everyone else that was in the back of the ambulance with me. Can you imagine? The last time she saw her son, he was breathing on his own. They weren't doing compressions, and he wasn't covered in blood. And now someone's doing compressions. He has a tube down his throat, and all of us are covered. If it was me, I would have been like, that bitch just murdered my child. It's exactly what I would have thought. Anyways, I go inside and, transfer everything, get paperwork signed, and then I go and find Mama. And I need to explain kind of what happened. I can't go into too much detail because, I really thought I killed the kid, and I didn't want to screw myself in court, basically. Y'all, I'm being as real gets right now. And I told her basically what I could, and that I was sorry, and then he'd be in my prayers, and then we had to leave. We had to clean up our truck and get back in service for the next call. It was, God, I was just without any knowledge of what happened, if he was still alive. My supervisor actually wound up calling our director, and our director sent us home for just mental health because, well, that was pretty crazy, and it's for us and for our next patient at that point. They don't want us to be distracted, not be able to give the next patient the care that they deserve. So we went home and we're told to come back for a debriefing the next morning, which we did, and we all talked about it, and that is where I got news that just took a huge load off of me. I didn't cause any trauma to him. He had a heart defect that was causing CHF, congestive heart failure, basically the backup of fluid or blood in his lungs. And that was just the blood that was coming out everywhere, all over us. And that's part of the reason why he coded in the first place, including he was also septic. So there's a lot of stuff going on that we had no control over and no way of knowing about. And he was still alive. He was still alive, you guys, and doing well. It was such a relief. Such a freaking relief. And I had no idea that I would see him again in less than a week. No, I think it was 2 weeks. He got out of the ICU, and they told us we were going to do another debriefing. So we showed up, and instead of it being a debriefing, it was us being able to see him again and hold him, and it was amazing. So I don't know what it was, but me and Mama had just a connection that was there from the first time we made eye contact, and I asked her what his name was. I wound up staying after a little bit late, and me and her talked, and no one besides my director knew about my miscarriage. I just wasn't ready to talk about it, and I don't know what it was. Me and her I just spilled it. Everything just came out, and it was amazing to be able to talk to her and her to listen, and we are still close to this day. It's awesome. At that time, y'all, I had no idea that in 3.5 years I would have my second daughter. And when she was 10 days old, she would go into cardiac arrest in my arms. She went into cardiac arrest because she had a heart defect and went septic. Exact same age, 10 days, and same issues. God was preparing me 3.5 years ago for what I went through a few months ago. You never know what He's got planned for you. So just give it to Him. It'll all work out. If that is not divine intervention, proof of how amazing He is, I don't know what is. Because I was meant to be a part of James' story in his life. And he was meant to teach me so that I could save my daughter. Because I couldn't have done it. Could not have done it if I hadn't have already gone through it. You guys, it's crazy. Please don't take my lack of emotion during this story the wrong way. It took me like 18 takes to be able to hold myself together. So trust me, I've cried plenty of tears, and I'm just grateful that everything has worked out the way that it has. And James, I love you so much. Lainey girl, I love you too. Yeah, bye guys.